In this video footage, I want to handle the TEC, or what is known as a Peltier device. We use the TEC to maintain a constant temperature on the FPA, and by this to eliminate any additional variations to our measurements due to ambient small changes. To control the TEC, we are using a Arroyo TECPAC 585 controller. This is the TECPAC 85. It's a 4 amp 8 volt controller. I assume that we already installed the USB driver, the LabVIEW runtime driver, and the Arroyo GUI that you can see in here. This is the folder when you download the software, the optional Arroyo TEC driver. Here are the 3 software to installs. We explained that on a different video footage. Before we dive to the TVI test environment, let's browse a little to some preparations and verification that we need to do and to be aware of. First of all, let's look at the device driver, the device manager, and we need to see that we have our USB serial port hooked to the hooked correctly. Now I took off the USB cable of the TEC, and now I'll plug it again. You can see that we are plugged into COM6. Let's remember this COM port. And now let's use the Arroyo GUI to make a connection to the TEC before we go into the TVI test environment. So we saw that we are hooked to COM6. This is the Arroyo GUI, and I'm pressing the connect button. And you can see that we get various readings here. We have the output. We can switch on or off the TEC. We can set temperature in here, and here we see the actual temperature on the chip, resistance, and the voltage and the current. For example, let's change the temperature to 40. Click the set button, and you can see how the temperature, current, and voltage all will try to reach the set point. But most important is to understand that due to thermal resistance, the ambient temperature and TEC set point are not matched one-to-one. But there's a small fit curve which I've computed using an external thermistor. Let's see the fit curve that I've done, and this is a fit curve which I've made to match the ambient and the TEC set point that we are setting. You can see that on 30 degrees, we're not exactly on the TEC, or let's say if we want to achieve 30 degrees on the FPA, we must set the TEC to 34.5. If we want, for example, 15 degrees on the FPA, we need to set the TEC set point to 11.3. If we want 60 degrees, we need to set the TEC to 80.8 degrees, and the fit curve is shown here. That's the fit curve between the TEC and the ambient. If we want ambient to 15, we plug it into this a linear equation to get the tech set point that we want. So that's something you need to bear in mind. Two more important things are when we deal with the controller is this is recommended at first time is to do the auto-tune, to auto-tune the PID. Set here the temperature or the common temperature that you are going to operate your test. If you are going to do your test on 60 degrees, do the auto-tune to 60. If you do it on 30 degrees, do it on 30. When you click here next, the auto-tune will start to work for about 10 to 15 minutes. That will try to tune the PID automatically. When it's done, it will store the new PID numbers, will plug them into the controller and store them into the flash. The other thing we need to make sure is to go into here into tech settings, and in tech settings there are a few areas that we need to change, and in the user guide I've emphasized them. We need to make sure that we are operating between 6 and 89 degrees, and the sensor limit is set to 0.8 and 25, and the current limit is set to 4 amps. That's what we need to set. You will see that when you test this and you try to go below or above these figures, it will be very difficult to detect to converge into those the numbers. It will switch off. So we click OK, and now we can we disconnect from the Arroyo GUI. Let's close this one, let's close this one, and let's now just take a look at the TVI, the test environment. Now when we are making our tests, the GUI that we have in the TVI is quite simple. Let's just switch on the TVI. To define the tech driver in TVI, we go to resources. You see we have here the line refers to the tech. Double click on it. You don't change any of those items, only you can change here the COM port, and in our case it's COM6, but you can it's a free text, you can put 5 or 3 or any number, any COM that you have. You just click the right COM and done, save, and close this window. Let's minimize this. Let's go here. Here is the tech control that we have within the TVI. You can see that we can view the actual temperature on the FPA, but what we can change are just the set point and a tolerance here that I'll explain in a minute, and set the temperature and activate the tech. Let's just put, for example, 45 degrees, tolerance 0.5, set temp, activate temp, and now on the on this chart above you can see this is the tolerance that we set to plus minus 0.5, and the set point the tech will now, the controller will try now to converge and to get the temperature into that 45 and into this envelope of plus minus half a degree. When it reaches into this envelope and stays here for some time, it will light on the tech in range LED. And this is important when we use this in a sequence. You saw that this tech in range is on. Our temperature is in the 45. plus minus half a degree. So this is just how to control the tech manually. I've made a very small short program for using the tech. You can see here a sequence. The first 5 steps are the standard steps that we are using in any sequence we will use to control the Pioneer. Clear the report, light controls off, voltage, we load the voltage setup, we load the registers to the chip, we load the kernel file, and here I've made just a set temperature to 45. You can see here 45 degrees, 4 amp tolerance, and settling time. That means a timeout. If it doesn't reach this temperature within 200 seconds, it will abort the program. The other important thing that you need to see here is a delay of 120 seconds that I've made, and this is I'm doing in every program. In every program I'm putting a delay of about 120 seconds, and this is to allow the FPA to settle. After we set the temperature on the tech, I want the whole temperature of the FPA to settle down. So every time I change the temperature, I give a 120 seconds delay before I'm moving to the next steps I want. In this example, I'm capturing 10 frames and make analysis and end of program. Let's try to run it. Doesn't matter what is here, I just want to start. We are uploading the registers, it takes some time. Okay, now you can see that we have 45 degrees set point, the tolerance is set, the command was given to the tech, and now the tech is trying to set up the 45 degrees, and when it's done and get the tech in range, this will close automatically, and the sequence will move to the next line. It moved to the next line. The next line is the delay. Now we have a 2 minutes delay. I don't want to. I'll stop the video right now for 1 minute, just not to waste your time. So I've skipped the video to the last 15 seconds of the delay, and now when the delay is done, we're going to capture 10 frames. Store them, and the sequence will complete. Okay, so that's it. Now just a word of warning. Just a word of warning. You see that the tech is switched off. If you try to set here numbers that are beyond the valid limits, 6 or 89, the tech will simply switch off and you won't see it. Just if you look at it, you'll see that the temperature drops or temperature goes up, but you won't see any indication. So try to be within the limits that the tech can operate in. That's it. That's the session we have on the tech. Good luck.